days here. The Eagle has landed. Rocket tranquility. We copy you on the ground.
New possibilities are opening up for scientific cooperation between countries.
1, 0, 0. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Discovery, roger. Go for deploy.
And everybody in the shuttle program, the crew is go for launch.
Roger. Nice to be in orbit.
We have followed in their footsteps to get us where we are today.
Welcome back to NASA's Kennedy Space Center. I'm Joshua Santora, and so glad that you could join us. A big welcome to our NASA social participants, as well as our virtual guests joining us online. Please make sure you add your questions to the conversation as we go through today. We're going to be taking those in real time and look forward to hearing from you and also from our fantastic panel today. I'm joined by three incredible leaders for our agency who are continuing to help us push American exploration, NASA's mission, and humanity at large to bigger and better things. So thanks guys for joining me. We're going to go ahead and open with some opening remarks and kind of some questions for you all. NASA Administrator Mr. Jim Bridenstine, thanks for being here. Curious to hear from you on the level of human exploration. What is the NASA's Crew-1 mission about, and what does it mean for us?
So there's a lot of things that it means. But we think about the fact that we are through the test and development phase of the Crew Dragon, and now we're into an operational phase. I want to be clear, every single flight, when you go to space, every single flight has to be dealt with very seriously. We pay attention to detail on all of them, and we learn from every single one of them. But it is a big transition because now we're going with a crew of 4 astronauts, which means we're going to be able to take more people to the International Space Station to do more work. And of course, the value there is the microgravity of space and this laboratory that is there to benefit all of humanity. So we're going to get so much more science and so much more discovery and so much more capability to benefit humanity than we could otherwise get now that we're taking more crew to the International Space Station. And when we take them, they're going to stay longer. So that's a really big deal. I would also say the other big thing is, you know, this is the first commercial contracted launch, which means it was licensed by the FAA, which is another big change, but very positive change. We're trying to scale up quickly. NASA wants to be one customer of many, not the owner and operator of the vehicles. We want to have numerous providers that can compete on cost and innovation to bring down cost and increase access to space. The other big thing is the fact that we're going to have an international partner on this one, which is fantastic. Japan has been an amazing partner for the United States in space exploration for so many years now. And of course, they're not just a partner in low Earth orbit at the International Space Station. They have gone all in, committing to the moon with the Artemis program and the Moon to Mars program. Japan has been an amazing partner for decades now, and it's thrilling to see that here we are on the first crew launch of Dragon, and they're going to be with us.
Yeah. Obviously, humanity, it seems like this is such a big deal, but it is one piece of so many pieces.
That's right.
So we're excited for this piece to be moving forward. Mr. Jim Morhard, who's our Deputy Administrator, thanks for being here. I wanted to ask you, kind of from the agency perspective, you and Mr. Bridenstine get to see kind of everything we do, like nobody else can. And so curious to hear from you, what's the feeling like for the agency? What is this moment like for us as NASA?
Gosh, first, I appreciate the question, but we have just an amazing workforce. And you think about, even during a pandemic, at no time have we ever pushed, we've always said, your health and safety is number one. It's paramount for what we want to do. And to me, that's leadership, that's Jim's leadership. And we continue to do that. But in the meantime, as Jim's talked about, it's low Earth orbit. But it's also moon, it's Mars, it's Earth sciences, it's planetary sciences, it's studying the sun. All these things come together, but we're really here to help humanity. That's why NASA exists, and that's what we continue to do. And it's just been a great honor, and it continues to be, to work with these folks because they are so committed, and it's just a pleasure every day. That's how I'd say it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, well said. Not much else to say. And it's exciting too because this is the first time, I think this is the first time we will have a long duration crew of 7. Even with the shuttle program, we never ran a long duration crew of 7. So the realization of bridging the gap from the shuttle program to commercial crew, Mr. Cabana, you have been a bridge of leadership across that span. So it's got to feel good that we're here, first off, but curious to kind of get your take as things just speed up for the Kennedy Space Center. What does that mean for our center, but also just our spaceport?
Well, first off, Josh, I mean, this is an amazing time for America's space program. When you look at what we have done here at KSC, but it's across the board. Our partnership with the FAA, with the 45th Space Wing and the Air Force to establish the environment that we have here to enable commercial launches more efficiently and effectively, less costly. It's absolutely awesome. And yes, it's going to continue. You know, the one thing that's constant in our lives is change, all right? And we are going to continue to change and evolve, but we're going to continue to change and evolve to even a better condition as we increase the number of launches that we have. What Jim Bridenstine has done, his effort to commercialize low Earth orbit, establish this commercial economy in low Earth orbit to enable NASA to focus on the hard job of exploring. But we're not going exploring alone. We're taking our commercial partners with us as we establish the gateway around the moon, as we get to the lunar surface, as we go on to Mars. The Gateway Logistics Program is here at the Kennedy Space Center. These are commercial contracts. Just as we serve commercially cargo to the International Space Station, we're going to do that from KSC with commercial contracts to service the gateway, to service operations on the moon and Mars. This is not something that we're doing alone. You know, I always talk, there's only one space above us. People talk about commercial space, government space, baloney. New space, old space, there's one space up there, and we need to be integrated with our commercial partners, government and commercial integrated together for all our launches if we're going to be successful. And I have to compliment both Jims. Jim Bridenstine for his exceptional leadership, Jim Morehard for the work that you have done to help get us the budgets that we need to be successful. You guys have been absolutely awesome, and it's been a real pleasure being part of the team with you.
Yeah, awesome. So a couple of notes. Remember to be asking your questions on YouTube as we go. I want to make sure that you guys know the Crew-1 mission is launching, scheduled for tomorrow, liftoff at 7:49 p.m. Eastern Time. We have 3 NASA astronauts, and as Mr. Bridenstine mentioned, an international partner in Soichi Noguchi, who's flying from JAXA with us. So a huge accomplishment there. The NASA astronauts, Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, and Shannon Walker. So let's jump into questions here. Mr. Cabana, we'll come to you first because you have personal experience with this. When the astronauts are in space, do they have an opportunity to talk to their family? And you would know this because you spent a number of days in space on 4 shuttle missions.
Well, it's so much better now than when I was up there. They had to arrange everything special for us to have a video telecon with our families. And it only happened on the long duration flights that you got a video telecon. Otherwise, it was email back and forth. Now they've got a voice over IP telephone. They can call home anytime they want and talk to folks. I was sitting in my office one day and I got a call from the International Space Station. It's like, well, hey, how you doing? You know, so no, communications today are so much better. And that's really important to be able to stay connected, you know, with friends and family when you are on a 6-month mission. I look back to when I was deployed in the Marine Corps overseas. You know, and we used to call on, you know, ham radio, calling home, you know, I love you, honey, over. And, you know, today, communication, satellites, NASA, what we have done, the space industry has changed communications for everyone, connecting us all. And I think it's really great that they're so interconnected.
Awesome, good. So, Mr. Bridenstine, coming to you. You were involved in the announcement of these commercial crew astronaut crews. I think it's been a couple years now. It seems like yesterday, right? Yeah. So are you involved in the selection process and kind of what goes into that? I think we're in the middle of another round of selection right now. What's that process like?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, there are professionals that are, you know, working in the astronaut office day in and day out, and I am very happy to leave it to them to pick who should be on these different crews. But I'll tell you, when you look at the astronaut corps, you really can't go wrong. There are every single one of them has like 7 PhDs, and they're medical doctors and Navy SEALs, and some of them are medical doctors and Navy SEALs at the same time. It is really an amazing group of individuals, and so you really can't go wrong. But I will tell you, yeah, the selections are done by the astronaut office down at the Johnson Space Center in Texas. I also want to say about Bob. Look, you know, we just recently celebrated 20 years of continuous human presence on the International Space Station. A lot of people don't know, but Bob was there when the Unity node was flown to
He
the
was
international.
literally there.
He was literally
there.
there. He was, in fact, you were the first person on the Unity node when it was assembled. And here we are, and you talk about the transformation and how we've evolved in the way we do contracting. And what's amazing is it's still there. It's still doing more and better work than ever before. And it couldn't have been done without Bob starting it way back in the day. So I'll tell you, Bob, you're an amazing leader, and your commitment to this program throughout the years has been astonishing.
Oh, thanks, Jim. I appreciate it.
Mr. Morhard, we'll come to you next. Where will you be watching launch from, and what's the one thing you're most excited about?
Boy, I'm going to be watching it with the administrator, and we certainly are going to be watching closely. I'm excited really because this is when those astronauts open that portal at the International Space Station, we're going to be increasing the research we're doing by 300%. There is such a demand for research with microgravity in low Earth orbit. And the hope is ultimately that we'll have commercial space stations, which is going to drive the demand even further. This is why we've worked so hard to have a commercial crew program. We're really at the beginning, we're at the dawn of a new space age of really human space flight. That's what we're trying to do, again, to help humankind.
Yeah. So it's interesting to hear you say that as this is a beginning moment, and then to hear comments from Mr. Bridenstine and Mr. Cabana of I hope people can feel kind of just the excitement of celebrating what's been done so far. That it's incredible how far we've come, and yet this is still kind of a beginning moment for us, that there's so much more to go. So I hope people kind of can feel that energy as we move into a new era for us. On the note of research, somebody asked the question online of, do we know what kind of experiments this crew will actually be conducting? And if we're not sure on the specifics, I know there's some resources out there for tracking with that. And who wants to take that one?
I would refer that one to my Space Station app on my phone.
Perfect.
And it's got all the science, everything that's going on, real time, what's being done on ISS, and that's a truthful way to get the answer rather than me guessing.
Yeah, obviously we know there is research going up. That's not the highlight here. The people cargo, that's our real highlight here, but certainly really good research going on. And we have a slew of NASA apps that are out there. Amazing thing, everything from art to science to Earth to other planets, Mars, you name it, and we've got resources available for it.
I'll tell you one experiment that really gets me excited, Josh, and that is this. They're doing work to develop regenerative medicine on the International Space Station. So, Josh, we could take your own skin cells, and use your own DNA to actually create your own human tissue, and use that.
Are you going to clone me?
Hey,
am I getting a clone?
One day. No. That might be very dangerous. I don't know about that.
That's not what we're doing on Space Station today.
One Josh might be all NASA can handle. But,
I know a lot of people who would second that comment.
Right. But I'll tell you. Yeah,
and Mr. Cabana is one of them. There we go.
But no, the idea though is that there's life-saving capabilities that microgravity can be used for, and having more astronauts there to do those experiments to develop those capabilities will be transformational for humanity.
I think that's one of the really important things about this mission, and it was said earlier, and it's getting more crew up there to be able to do the science and not just maintain the space station. You know, being up on ISS, it's a full-time job just to clean all the filters and keep everything operating and running, and then you throw in everybody's got 2.5 hours of mandatory exercise every day, and you're constantly eating into the time that's available to do science. And this is such a phenomenal microgravity research facility. I mean, it's done so many amazing things already, but we don't know what else can come now that we are getting into a real ability to use it.
That's right.
I'd also add that we're looking back at Earth of how do we help folks on Earth, but we're also looking at preparing to go to Mars. So we're looking backwards and forwards, and there's so much in both directions that can be done up there.
Yeah, awesome. So let's talk for a minute. A question came in about training crews as well as kind of man rating or human rating capsules, spacecraft. So we'll kind of take those as two separate topics of are we training our crews the same way, And are we developing our spacecraft the same way we always have? And I don't know who wants to take that one, or I'm sure there's lots to say there.
Well, so when you think about how we create an astronaut, they have a 2-year period where they're astronaut candidates, and then they go through a whole host of different types of training, everything from how to do a spacewalk using the neutral buoyancy lab, a huge swimming pool down in Houston, to flight simulators, to I don't know, spacewalking, etc. They do all kinds of. They learn Russian, for goodness sake. You got 2 years, and when you're done, you got to come out speaking Russian. I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't do it, but others can. And so they go through that training. Then after 2 years, you are a qualified astronaut. And then of course you get selected for a mission. One of the things that's unique today is we have so many things under development, and now obviously in operation, with the SpaceX Crew Dragon, the Boeing Starliner capsule, the Orion Crew capsule. Each one of these is different, very different. And so once you become an astronaut, you have to get trained for the specific vehicle that you're in, and then you have to be trained for the specific mission that you're doing. So every time an astronaut gets trained, they get trained in very different ways, and different astronauts are doing different things. Some are pilots that are going to be obviously at the controls, and others are mission specialists. So. But I'll tell you, today every astronaut is an astronaut, and they're all going to be doing science, and they're all going to be capable of flying. So it's good.
Yeah, awesome. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I think that's good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I want to highlight a couple things. Victor Glover flying. This is his rookie mission, so he doesn't have this experience. I'm sure we'd all love to kind of be with him to experience whatever that feeling is of being in space. It sounds amazing to me. And then we have Soichi, who's flown on 2 other spacecraft. So this will be his 3rd spacecraft, and then Shannon and Mike. This will be not their first flight, but I think they've only flown on 1 craft previously. So a really diverse crew, a really neat group, from what I understand. I'm excited to see them fly. I want to ask Mr. Cabana. So there's a question about traditions for astronauts. And I know that there's probably things deeper into training and otherwise, but thinking about the lead up to launch, I know there are some traditions that used to be and some new ones that are being started. Can you tell us more about traditions that you went through, as well as do you know of the new ones that are happening?
So there's one tradition I'll throw out there, and I don't know if they're still doing it or not. But prior to when the crew got suited up in the suit room, there was a specific time you walked out to make the timeline to drive out to the pad. And if you were suited up early, you still couldn't leave the suit room. So they had to do something to occupy the crew. And one of the things that they did, it was played low-handed poker, Possum Fargo. And it was the director of flight crew ops and a few other folks, chief of the astronaut office. And the rule was you couldn't walk out until the commander won. So yeah, I don't know if they're carrying that tradition on or not.
Yeah, I think they are. I don't think we get to see it. I think they keep it a private event, but I think we'll discuss it some tomorrow on our broadcast.
All right.
So looking forward to that, and maybe catch some other traditions along the way. Anybody, you know of any other traditions? I know I'm anxious to kind of discover this together, because they don't really publicize it. We just kind of pick up on it with time. Yeah,
I mean, we see, as the astronauts walk out of those famous doors that our Apollo astronauts walked out of, when you see them for the first time as they get into their vehicles and go out to the launch pad, they take a sticker, and maybe not that day, but previous to that, they'll take a sticker and they'll put it on, overhead the door there. I think that's a special moment, and you can see all of the previous missions that have come before the one that's currently going, and it's a pretty unique experience.
Cool. Mr. Cabana, I know, speaking of crew, Mr. Cabana has to take off now. He's on a tight timeline because he is actually headed to see the crew to wish them well. So we're going to thank you for joining us. We're going to keep going for a few more minutes with questions.
All right. Well, thanks, Josh, Jim, and Jim. Thank you so much. It's great having you guys at the Kennedy Space Center. And all I can say is go Falcon, go Dragon, go Resilience.
Yes. There you go.
There you go.
Give my
Thanks,
regards
Bob.
to the crew.
You bet.
Awesome. Yeah, Resilience there, as Mr. Commander just mentioned, that's the actual name given by the crew of their capsule. So it'll be Resilience that they're flying on board. So excited for that. Kind of another tradition there of naming capsules and fun things like that. Another question from online. What's the historical impact that this mission has? And I know we've spoken to that a little bit already, but just in the scope of history, We've talked about kind of the past and what has led to this, some of the future. We've talked about the fact that this has been a year with a global pandemic, which is shocking because I think the history books won't read that way with what we've done this year. So what other history is there in this moment?
So I would say, and I'll turn it to Jim here, but I would say the big thing is historically human spaceflight has been a zero-sum game. It was something that was done by governments and it was something done for governments. And now with all of the commercial space industry that exists today, NASA is one of many customers. And that's really what this commercial crew program represents. And when there's commercial customers, what that means is we can do public-private partnerships. We can be a customer, we can help develop the market, and then other companies, private individuals, even other countries can step in and move the ball forward. And so this really it's a transformational moment where it's not just a zero-sum game where all of the money comes from government and the only money that comes in is from government. In fact, it's a very robust commercial marketplace, and we want to see it grow.
You know, Josh, going on with what Jim's saying, you think of NASA, and we designed, built, and operated all the spacecraft, Apollo, Gemini, all of them. And today, we're really looking, as Jim said, to be one of many customers. But it's really so that NASA can focus on deep space. We want to have we want these partners, both commercial and international partners, so that we can continue in low Earth orbit, build that economy much larger than it is today. And in the trillions is where we're heading. But you look at historically, I can tell you in my own personal experience, I was about 6 years old. I found myself being pushed out of my parents' Ford station wagon with my brother Jay, and was walking up to somebody's house in Arlington, Virginia, knocked on his door, and John Glenn answered the door. And my parents, I don't know what my parents were thinking, that they just threw us up there. And he let us in, I pet his cat, he gave us a glass of water, we got his autograph. That was my first, historically, that is the first time I was ever touched space, anything to do with space. And
it's a way to do it. That's a high bar.
It was a good start.
That's a high
it was
bar,
a good
man.
start. And I ended up working with him in the Senate. And he was the same gentleman that he was as, you know, all these astronauts
Awesome.
are. But, you know, to me, that's the history. And we're going to continue that history tomorrow and into the future.
Cool. There's a lot of questions coming in about the weather. I know today is a beautiful weather day here in Florida. I don't know that it's a great day for a launch. There's a lot of clouds. There's some breeze here. Do y'all know that? Have y'all seen the weather report yet for tomorrow? I know it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it looks fairly good, but as you know, it's Florida, and so you know, there are some issues. You know, the concern, of course, would be the winds that are coming from the ocean over the land rather than the other way. So if there's like if for some reason we had to do a launch abort or a pad abort, you know, we need them to land in the ocean, not on the land, and so. There's a small chance that the winds could be heading the wrong direction tomorrow. We don't know. There's room there. There's margin. So we'll see what direction it goes. But I think look, it's when we launched Demo 2, we actually had to scrub a flight, and when we came back, you know, a couple days later, I was like, there's no way we're going. I got up in the morning. I was like, this thing is. We should cancel it now.
I think we all said the same thing that day. Yeah.
And by the afternoon, we were launching, and it was a beautiful flight. So, look, we're in Florida, so we're gonna go as far as we can go, and if things stay the same, we're gonna be good.
Great.
And this afternoon, we're going to be doing the launch readiness review.
Yes.
And I'll be attending that. Jim's got some other things he's working on, but we're going to be going through all those questions, and we'll certainly have answers by the end of today.
Great. Yes, we do have a launch readiness review. I think it's kicking off here in just a few minutes. It'll go until it's done. That's how the reviews work. And then there'll be a briefing later this evening on NASA TV. And so we will get things like weather reports and those kinds of details. Hopefully all things go for tomorrow. Last question for today is duration of this mission. We've talked about this being a long duration mission, but what does that mean? We've seen everything from a few days up to a year with our astronauts. So what's this mission for this crew?
Yeah, so these astronauts are going to be up there for a period of 6 months. The vehicle will be there for a period of 6 months. So we've had to make some modifications to the vehicle. The limiting factor was the solar panels. We got those solar panels changed, and it, you know, we're in good shape for a 6-month mission. It is a long mission. The shuttle never, I don't think, ever did a 6-month mission. So this will be the longest one for a vehicle, a crewed vehicle, which is going to be remarkable. So we're very excited about it.
Cool, good. All right, we'll open it up for you guys. Last comments or thoughts for our audience. Just the excitement of it's Crew-1. We're there.
Go ahead, Jim.
Gosh, you know, first I'm just honored to be here and be a part of this, be part of what Jim has put together, and we're looking forward to a successful launch tomorrow. And again, as I said before, this is the beginning, really the dawn of a new space age. That is what we're doing here.
Yeah, and I want to say to Jim and to Josh that we've had some really great successes. As when we look at 2020, which has been a very difficult year, I will tell you one thing that's great is that the NASA budget is as high as it's ever been, that we've got bipartisan, apolitical support for missions like Commercial Crew, like the Artemis program, like building a human landing system for the moon, which hasn't happened since 1972. So as tough as 2020 has been with COVID, some challenges with the economy, here's the thing. We're doing big things in space. This is just the beginning. There's so much more to do. 2021 is going to be a great year with the Artemis program underway and going to the moon, not just with you know, the next man, but the first woman. Not in 2021, but we're going to start launching rockets in 2021. By 2024, landing the first woman and the next man on the moon. So look, NASA is in a great position, and the great work of my deputy, Jim Morhard, who has done so many great things on behalf of the agency. It's been a real pleasure, and this is just the beginning. There's a lot more to come.
Awesome.
I ditto, right back to Jim Bridenstine. And by the way, keep in mind, we have the largest budget that NASA has ever had. We call it in nominal dollars, but it's real money, and we need that to keep going forward.
Yeah, we're excited for that. Mr. Bridenstine, Mr. Morhard, always a pleasure to share the stage with you. Appreciate you both. Thank you for joining us online. Want to remind you, check NASA Kennedy Facebook for more NASA social events today. Stay tuned to more streaming on NASA Kennedy's YouTube page. And then tune in tomorrow, beginning at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We will open coverage for that launch, scheduled for 7:49 p.m. Eastern Time. That coverage begins just prior to Crew suit up. That's why we picked that time. We get to see a lot of really neat things. All of the suit up, or most of the suit up, the drive out to the pad, and then fingers crossed, weather good, technology permitting, we're gonna fly. All things moving forward. All for one, one for all. Go Falcon, go Dragon, go Resilience, go Crew-1.
Go NASA.
Go NASA.